After Homer Bailey, Lance Lynn, Dan Herron, Neil Walker, Nick Swisher, Josh Reddick, Alfonso Soriano, Ernesto Freire, Alejandro De Aza, and Brett Anderson were selected. So, bummer on Swisher. He's a guy I would have liked there. Looking at utility spots, there goes Jason Kubel. Frazier and Kendrys Morales are both kind of creeping up the rankings here. I don't necessarily know if I like Morales more or less than Frazier. I think that Morales has a better track record, but Frazier probably has a higher ceiling. It's close. I'm not super stoked to take either one. Moustakas is also an interesting candidate to take here. I could take another closer. I could take an outfielder. Let's see who the outfielders available are right now. Brett Gardner, Ben Revere, Chris Davis, Dexter Fowler, Coco Crisp, Corey Hart, Cameron Maben, Norichika Aoki. Yeah, I think I'm going to continue to wait on outfielders because I like Aoki. He's a guy that I could take a little bit later. Although I do have Gomez already. I don't know if I want both of those Milwaukee outfielders. At the middle infield spot, Andrelton Simmons, Jed Lowry, Everett Cabrera are all guys that I like. I probably wouldn't take Cabrera considering I already have Alcides Escobar. I'd probably want a guy who has a little bit more pop. So looking at pitchers available now, I'm tempted to take another starter here and continue to wait on saves. But you know what? I'm going to take Williamson. He's the guy I have ranked the highest as far as closers go, and I need some more saves. In the other league, or the other draft, I probably would have taken another, probably some middle infielder. I don't really know who's available here. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, it's ugly, actually. I don't know if I would have then. Maybe I probably just would have taken another pitcher, to be honest. And let's say I would have taken Mike Minor. He's a guy that I like. I'm not sure if it's just because I've been only kind of half-assing this hypothetical team, or if it's actually just the case, but I do like the team I've drafted more than the hypothetical team by a pretty wide margin, mainly because the offense I have here isn't that much worse than the offense I would have had, but the pitching is significantly downgraded, I think. I wouldn't have had Lee or Wainwright in the hypothetical draft. I would have had guys like Max Scherzer and Anibal Sanchez instead. It's not, I mean, that's not a huge drop-off, but it's significant. Anyway, after I took Williamson, Dexter Fowler, Jeremy Hellickson, Ryan Vogelsong, Jason Greeley, and Mike Moustakas were taken. There are 3 picks before I come up here again. I'm going to pause until it just gets to our pick and catch up then. Okay, we're back. After the Moustakas pick, Chris Perez, Glenn Perkins, and Kendrys Morales all went. So we still need 2 outfielders. We need utility. We need a middle infield and a couple pitchers. I feel confident I'll be able to fill out the pitchers later. So I'm looking at some hitters here. Todd Frazier is one of them. I'm also looking at... Oh, did we lose Kendrys Morales? Did he get scooped up? Did I miss that? Oh, he did. He just got taken. Okay. Well, that might be just the kick in the pants I need to take a utility player now. The other option is to wait on a guy like Brandon Belt, but I'm going to take Frazier here. I like that he adds a little bit of positional flexibility with third base and first base eligibility, so that in a daily league like this, I could shuffle him in for Evan Longoria, Albert Pujols, or the corner infield spot, Paul Konerko. Filling my utility now is kind of a drag, but it's not the worst. And there are plenty of good pitchers still available. In the hypothetical case here, I'd probably take a middle infielder of some sort, just because I would need a shortstop and a middle infield at this point still. And it probably would have been Andrelton Simmons. Not as a guy I especially like based on his skills, although they're not bad. Just the fact that he's going to bat at the top of that Atlanta order is pretty enticing. As far as like a guy who could accrue a lot of runs scored while also adding like a moderate amount of pop and stolen bases. Anyway, he's the guy we'll be targeting in the next round, but we'll be back in just a moment for that. All right, after the Frazier pick, the next players selected were Alexi Ogando, Brett Gardner, Ben Revere, Jason Mott, Chris Davis, David Freese, Kevin Youkilis, Jared Parker, Kyle Seager, and Kenley Jansen. I'm thinking about an outfielder here. I'm thinking about a middle infielder. I do like Simmons. He's still available. Another guy I like further down is Jed Lowry. He's a guy with a lot of power for a shortstop, and I'm pretty sure we could get him later. I don't necessarily know if he'd be a better pick than Simmons, because I think of the players on this team I currently have, Simmons will score a lot more runs, and therefore is a guy that might be more useful to this team, because I don't have a whole lot of top of the order guys on it. Most of these are like 3, 4, 5 type hitters. Of the pitchers available, we could jump on a third closer here. The top ones available appear to be Casey Jansen, Steve Chiswick, Brandon League. So no great shakes there by any means. That might just be the right pick, because they're going to start to run out pretty soon, and I do want to make sure I get at least 3 closers for this team. Of those, the guy I like the most is League. There are some other guys further down, Bobby Parnell, and then I'll probably end up speculating on the Detroit closer eventually. I just took League. He's a guy I probably would have taken in both leagues. Ha 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 ha. Both the hypothetical draft and the real draft. But yeah, we'll be back in a moment for round 20. Catch you then. After Brandon League, Salvador Perez, Jason Worth, Michael Young, Willen Rosario, Diane Viciedo, Derek Jeter, and Lance Berkman were selected. There's one more pick before we come up here. I do need a couple more outfielders. I do need a couple more pitchers, and I still need a middle infield. Emilio Bonifacio was just selected. I'm looking at outfielders now for the most part. Again, I don't think I need to take Andrelton Simmons right now if I can get Lowry later. But it's tough to choose between an outfielder and a pitcher here. There are plenty of starters I still like. Mike Minor, Shelby Miller, Brandon McCarthy, Marco Estrada, to name a few. I'm not going to take a closer here, because I've already got 3, and this is a 12-team league. That's probably good enough. Yeah, I think I'm going to take Norichika Aoki here. He's having a pretty bad spring from what I've read, but a 10-homer, 30 stolen base type player at this point isn't the worst. And if he's the guy that I'm basically filling in for Curtis Granderson or whatever while Granderson is hurt, that's pretty good, because Granderson will make up for the lack of pop later. I understand that I still have another outfield spot to fill, which is really who would be quote-unquote holding that spot for Granderson, but the mix of stats between Aoki and Granderson, I think it's a good little combo platter. Yeah, so we're going to take Aoki, and we'll be back in a minute for round 21. After Aoki, AJ Przinsky, Tim Hudson, Matt Harrison, Steve Chiswick, Will Middlebrooks, Jesus Montero, Miguel Montero, Manny Machado, and Mike Minor were taken. One pick left here before we're up. I'm probably going to take a pitcher here. I'm looking at starters, and while I do have Brandon McCarthy and Marco Estrada rated higher in my rankings, I'm going to take Shelby Miller, play some upside a little bit, and hope to get one of those other guys back a little bit later. I only have 5 spots left to fill, one of which is going to be a second baseman or shortstop, the other of which is going to be an outfielder. I'm targeting Starling Marte for that outfielder spot, and either Simmons or Jed Lowry for that middle infield spot. And after that, I've got 2 bench spots to play with, really, and I'm probably going to want them to both be pitchers. Probably one more reliever and one more starter. So Shelby Miller is going to make it onto the squad here. At this point, any pick that I make in this draft is pretty much the same pick I would make in the fake draft. I probably would have taken a catcher at some point here. Let's see which ones are available. Yeah, that probably... I might have taken a catcher last round instead of Brandon League, but or instead of Aoki, excuse me. And that probably would have been Miguel Montero, because it would have been my highest one available. But looking at these 2 squads, kind of looking at the differences, a lot of the picks would have been the same. The main differences are that I would have had better pitching in this league, and I would have had worse middle infield in this league. Where I'm looking at Chase Utley and Alcides Escobar, I would have had Ian Kinsler and another shortstop in the hypothetical draft. So Yeah, it's that seems like the biggest trade-off because when it comes to the big bats, the Pujols, the Longorias, the Stantons, like those are the same picks I'd make in any league really. And so if I'm using those other like fourth, fifth, sixth, early-ish rounds on pitching, the positions that are likely going to suffer on my team are the middle infield spots, which is probably okay when you get down to it because those are the spots that it's easy to kind of speculate on and punt to a certain extent and pick up later. Go for the Utleys, go for the Alcides Escobar type players. Anyway, something to think about, food for thought. We'll be back in just a minute with round 22. After the Shelby Miller pick, the next players selected were Josh Rutledge, Alexi Ramirez, Ryan Dempster, Brandon Moss, Derek Holland, Corey Hart, Nick Markakis, and Alex Cobb. So we're in an interesting spot here. We can take a middle infielder, and both Simmons and Lowry are both still available. Again, trying to look at this team and figure out what it needs, I would say that stolen bases to some extent are something I need, but not terribly. I mean, Utley should steal a handful. Escobar's good. Rios will steal some. Gomez and Aoki will both steal a good number of bases. So what's more important to me are batting average and runs because I have some batting average strain, guys. Granderson, Gomez, maybe even Stanton and Longoria. I do have Pujols to kind of make up for that, hopefully. But between Simmons and Lowry, those are both kind of batting average risk guys. I would also want to get Starling Marte as a kind of a runs guy, a top of the order type player. His batting average won't be anything special either. So if it comes down to Marte versus shortstop, I'm kind of on the fence. Marte's the guy I really want, but I think because he's down there, I can probably wait another couple rounds, especially with all these auto drafters. So I'm going to take Simmons right now and look to get Marte with one of my next picks. And then I have two more picks for a starter and a reliever. Plenty of starters left that I like. McCarthy, Estrada are the two that I like the most. And relievers, I'm probably looking for Albuquerque because he's my boy. I'm all in on him as the Tigers closer. If it doesn't work out, we can just drop him. All right, we're back. Adam Dunn, Mark Teixeira, Coco Crisp, Justin Morneau, AJ Burnett, Trevor Cahill, Juan Pierre, Edwin Jackson, and Jonathan Lucroy were all taken after I took Simmons. So Marte and McCarthy are still available. Other starting pitchers available right now that I kind of like are Matt Garza, just as a stash candidate. If I didn't have Granderson already, I would gladly take Garza at this point. He's a good stash. But with that said, I don't want two DL guys on my roster to open the year. And so that leaves me looking at Estrada or McCarthy, and I'm not totally sure which one's better. I mean, we could double check to see which one I have ranked higher. Casey Janssen was just selected. That's a pretty good late round closer value. Yeah, I've got McCarthy a little bit ahead of Estrada. Buchholz is another guy I like a little bit this late in the draft, just because there's literally no risk. It's possible I should just take the outfielder I want now, which is Marte, but I'm gonna gamble a little bit. I'm gonna go with McCarthy and hope that Starling Marte is available with my next pick. And if he's not, there are plenty of other kind of similar players. Justin Reggiano, Lorenzo Cain, both offer a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, and who knows about their batting average, but you never know. We'll be back in just a second with my next pick. After the McCarthy pick, the next picks were Lorenzo Cain, Tommy Malone, Kyle Loesch, Cameron Maben, Jose Quintana, Paul Maholm, and Matt Garza. Starling Marte is going to be my pick here if he is not selected with this one pick that's coming up before us. And after that, I'm probably going to just jam Albuquerque onto my roster. The other potential closers or actual closers available right now are Carlos Marmol, Bobby Parnell, and Jose Veras. I'm going to take Marte. Now, speculating on saves with Albuquerque may not be quite as good of a play as just taking a known closer in Parnell. Yeah, you know what? I've taken Albuquerque in every other draft, so maybe we'll just go with Parnell here. It's possible he'll get snatched up before it's our pick, but I don't know. I like the to change it up here. After Marte were Wade Miley, Ryan Madsen, Colby Rasmus, Josh Beckett, Marco Estrada, Michael Kadire, Aaron Hicks, Garrett Jones, Everett Cabrera. A lot of upside here in this second to last round, or last round. I like pretty much all the players drafted there except for Colby Rasmus. I mean, but even now, like, that's not a risky pick whatsoever, because if he's no good, you just drop him. Otherwise, all these other guys are probably going to outperform where they were just drafted. Looking at my pick here, if I'm taking a reliever, Parnell is the easy bet for saves. Albuquerque is the upside bet for saves. What I could do is when I DL Granderson, I could just pick up Albuquerque because I bet he'll survive the waiver period unless it's announced that he'll become the closer, or he will be the closer by Jim Leyland sometime before the start of the year. Anyway, we're going to take Parnell, round out a roster that I think is pretty good. I don't know which one I like more, this one or the hypothetical one, but I'll post it on the website when I post the video, thefakebaseball.com, and you can decide for yourself. Anyway, thanks for drafting along with me, everybody. Catch you next time. Greg Smith, out.